Hi guys, and welcome to a World of Warcraft video. This is telling you guys a little bit about my journeys, my guild's journey from AOTC to Mythic grading. AOTC, for those not familiar, is ahead of the curve. So that's killing the last boss on heroic raid difficulty, which is the second highest difficulty, and then going into Mythic, which even when Mythic bosses are fully nerfed towards the end of the tier, is still by far the hardest content in the game. Your players have got to be quite switched on what they're doing. Some mistakes on Mythic bosses will just outright one-shot your character. So this is me and my guild doing the first boss on Mythic. We are now 3 out of 8. We started this tier 2 months late, so we didn't start until 2 months in. So we were well behind to begin with. In terms of my background, I started playing in vanilla. I got the game about 3 months after release. I played all the way through up until halfway through WoD, and then I quit. And I came back about the last 3 months or so of BFA, and then I played for 7 or 8 months in Shadowlands, and then I went on to not be playing the game again, and I came back again, like I said, 2 months into the War Within. Some friends coaxed me back, bought me the game and some game time, and here I am. We've rebuilt our guild with a lot of new players. A lot of them you can see in this video here. And a lot of these players, when I say new, I don't just mean new to raiding or new to Mythic, which a lot of them are. I mean actually new to the game. So some just started playing this tier. Some started playing within the last year. So they haven't got a lot of experience in the game in general. Because a lot of guilds, Mythic raiding guilds obviously generally are a bit more strict. They will usually go what's your past Mythic raiding experience? Have you got any cutting edges, which is your killing the last boss in Mythic? Obviously you can get idiots that can pay for it and get boosted, but boosted players, you'll spot them a mile away because they haven't actually got the skill. It's like anyone that gets boosted in keys and they're 3k rating, and then they're probably not even 1.5k rating. So in the case of Mythic, yeah, you can generally spot players that haven't got the skill quite easily. I'd like to point out as well in this, 3 of my raiders in this kill were 606 item level, so they were normal raiding geared, and they were doing a Mythic raid boss. Because we were still kind of flushing out our ranks, we didn't have that many war geared players, so we did the best with what we could, and we got a nice clean kill on the boss, actually cleaner than some of our re-kills of the boss. But my point is, if there's any guilds out there, or to advise you, lower your barriers a little bit. If you're ahead of the curve guild and you're trying to recruit people, don't just purely recruit people based on past heroic experience or past ahead of the curves. Take a run at newer players and they might surprise you, because some of the players in here now we're doing Mythic, we've been comparing them to some other cutting edge raiders, and they're outperforming cutting edge raiders in lower item levels of gear. So there's some exceptional players, and over half the people in this raid got their first head of the curve with my guild this tier. I don't just mean the first this tier, I mean the first head of the curve ever overall, and also the first Mythic raid boss kills now, and some of them are exceptional players. But if you don't ever give people like these a chance, you're not going to know. Just because somebody's new, you're not going to have the misconception that they're bad. A new player doesn't mean a bad player. It just means they're new. A new player could very well pick up the game quite quickly and be better than you are, or better than some of your more hardcore veteran raiders are. So don't let new talent in the game blind you, or even if they're not saying new to the game, but they might be new to trying raiding or trying to get curve or trying to do Mythic, doesn't mean that they can't do the content. You've got to avoid that bias, and that's how you can go from being an ahead of the curve guild to a Mythic raiding guild. Obviously the first hurdle is you need 20 active players. So the primary recruiters in my guild is myself and my friend Matrix, and we basically been recruiting our ass off. Anyone that's been appropriate item level, we don't care about what their achievements were, we don't parse check. Parsers are for idiots, in all honesty. Parsers tell you part of the story, not the entire thing. Checking logs is good information, but parse checking is one of the stupidest things you can do. It's not the definition of a great player by checking parsers. Parsers can be somewhat faked in certain ways as well. So my advice, don't parse check. Parsing's a noob thing to do. It's not the justification of a decent player. And you don't need top tier parsers to kill bosses. Unless you're like a world first raider, or probably like a top 40 or 50 guild raider, you don't need high parsers to kill bosses. And even say guilds in the top 50 world rankings, when the race to world first is over, those bosses go through several tiers of nerfs to make them even killable by those players in the top 40, 50 guilds. So while they're very gifted players, they're not on the level of world first raiders. When these bosses come out and they're unnerfed and overtuned to begin with, they're in the top like 10 or 15 guilds in the world. They're the ones designed to kill these bosses, not anyone else. So then they go through several waves of nerfs to make them killable, even for other cutting edge guilds. I've got a friend of mine and his guild is about to kill Queen. They'll probably kill Queen in the next week or two, but that's right towards the end of the tier. But they've got cutting edge, I think, every tier for the last, I think, 2 or 3 expansions now. So they always get the cutting edge, but they kill the boss very late in the tier. But that's still incredibly skilled to do that, because not many guilds do it. It's like 2.5% at the most of guilds that actually manage to kill all the bosses in Mythic. So it's an extraordinary achievement. So if you want to start getting into Mythic, going from Heroic Guild to a Mythic Guild, and then eventually maybe building yourself towards getting cutting edge, sometimes you need to take a run on newer players, or players that haven't got past achievements. Because just because they haven't got raiding achievements doesn't mean they can't play their class. And then it's up to you how you run your guild. I run my guild in a way different to other Mythic raiding guilds, because there's no toxism or elitism in there, and we run it as a community as well, like because it's part of my YouTubing. So we don't have that same vibe that non-creator guilds would, and we don't have that like you've got to know it all sort of thing and that arrogant chip on your shoulder, because players like that don't last. Nobody wants to play with them. Nobody wants to basically be associated with them in a lot of cases. So although they can be good players, and they can, when your personality's shit, nobody wants to play with you. So it's like, the overall thing there is just don't be a dickhead. You know? Have some decency to yourself. You're not just about being a decent player, be a decent person. And I think some of the guilds out there that have been getting ahead of the curve for several expansions, or tiers at least now, they probably have some very good players who can go for Mythic raiding and then eventually into cutting edge. Obviously it's down to their guildmaster and officers recruiting, and if they've already got 20 players, they should absolutely be testing it out. Because as me and my guild have sorted out now, we were really, really apprehensive and nervous going into Mythic for the first time. And surprisingly now, we've actually found it to be quite easy in some cases. Once you pull the bosses a number of times, you get used to the mechanics and the damage. You know you can trust your healers to handle the damage that's coming out. It actually becomes relatively easy, because now Heroic to us feels like a joke. Heroic doesn't feel hard. Once you've done Mythic, Heroic's an absolute fucking walk in the park. It's nothing. So I'd urge any guilds thinking about it, give it a try. You might be surprised, but give new players a chance. Give them a shake. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Speak to you all soon.